Hi, my name's Jason, and tonight I was at a empty seat town hall for Representative Zach Nunn Representative of Iowa's 3rd District here over in Urbandale, and I decided tonight that I would put myself out there as a little bit of a citizen journalist. I've never done anything like this before, but I feel like no one's going to be paying attention unless some of us are getting the word out there. And I was so excited to hear from all of the older people in my community that were really concerned and worried about how things are going in this country and what's happening to their benefits and their concerns. We had a lot of veterans. We had a lot of just people on Social Security. We had someone that remembers the times of the Holocaust and World War II and everything that led up to it. And that was really awe-inspiring and interesting. And I hope that in my own efforts to contribute, I did any bit as good as the other people that were there. But I think as a community, we really made a strong message about what we care about. And I just want to share that with you, because I think that a lot of people don't necessarily realize what the people of Iowa are thinking. And with how things are going right now, there's so much groundswell of support, and organizations are doubling and tripling in size of people that just are sick of it and they're wanting to fight back. And I think we need leaders and people around that are willing to fight back with them. So I just wanted to get this word out so that it did get out to somebody, because I didn't want this to be an empty town hall where we just speak into the void and nothing happens with it. So I hope that somebody ends up finding this and it gets spread around as much as you can. I'm going to, edit it down so that we get all the people talking, and try to remove their last names and things like that so we can protect their identities. But I really just hope that you take the time to listen and hear what these people have to say, because it is so, so important.
How did we get here tonight? I know that ideally Congressman Nunn would be here, and if we were, or if he was, having open town halls on a regular basis or at all, there wouldn't be a need to fill a void to give voice to your concerns. So, regardless of why he is unable to be here, we have chosen to proceed. And at this time, I'm going to invite Lori to come up. She's going to share the invitation that was extended to Congressman Nunn, and that she sent out asking for a town hall and during his recess.
Hi. So thank you all for coming tonight. So I emailed and also hand delivered a letter to his office. I like the crickets. So I don't know, actually the other frustrating thing is I don't know the name of the scheduler because they wouldn't tell me, so I couldn't. I have a card, they gave me a card, it just says non-scheduling at house.gov. So I decided to send a letter. So it's Dear Congressman Nunn and staff, we, the constituents of Iowa's 3rd Congressional District, are writing to invite you to an open town hall event. It'll be held at the Urbandale Public Library on Tuesday, March 18th. We are expecting 50 to 75 people that evening, and I think we've kind of beat that. So anyway, we will have a moderator who will take questions from the audience. We would like to keep answers relatively short, so we can allow as many constituents as possible to have their questions answered. Please let us know if you're able to attend. We plan on having the event, even if you choose not to participate. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to hearing from you. So here's the email I got back 12 hours later. So thank you for the invitation. Unfortunately, the congressman has other commitments on his calendar and is unable to attend the town hall on Tuesday, March 18th. One of the congressman's favorite parts of his role is hearing directly from Iowans. Oh, it gets better. So he truly appreciates the opportunity. As part of his mission to deliver Iowa common sense to Washington, D.C., He's held hundreds of events, including open forums and listening sessions in all 21 counties of Iowa's 3rd Congressional District. His record of delivering wins for Iowans speaks for itself, and he'll continue to put our community first in DC. Again, thank you for reaching out and extending the invitation. So then we followed up again. And said, well, we're expressing our disappointment, he's unavailable. And we also asked for links to all of these hundreds of events that he's held, because town halls are one of my hobbies, and I love them very much. A girl's gotta have a hobby, right? So you wanna see this ways coming up, Yeah, anyway. Then we haven't heard back about them, and we haven't heard anything about any other upcoming events. So we'll see. But in the meantime, thank you all for coming, and we're gonna hand deliver all of your questions, comments, limericks, hopefully. And so we'll hand deliver them on Friday to his office. So he will hopefully hear from you.
I'm not Ukrainian. I'm not a Ukrainian American. I was asked that earlier. I'm an ashamed American. And I think you spelled Zachman's name wrong. It should be N-O-N-E. On February 28th, that was my granddaughter's birthday, so we were having a lovely time. But later in the day, I had the most visceral reaction I'd had yet out of the hundreds of evil acts perpetrated by Donald Trump. I actually cried tears of shame as Ukrainian President Zelensky was pelted by a pack of monkeys throwing feces. 3 days before that, on the other hand, you, Representative Nunn, spoke thoughtfully to the Des Moines Register, wanting Ukraine to, quote, be successful. You said that Russia has, quote, clearly taken actions that have caused the deaths of tens of thousands of individuals. You said you support seizing frozen Russian assets and using that money to support Ukrainian war efforts. And, quote, we all know Ukraine didn't start the war. So 3 days later then, President Zelensky was ambushed and bullied by Trump and Vance in the Oval Office and then kicked out. Are you as revolted and ashamed of this as most Americans are? Will you stand by your stated support of Ukraine and use your power as a member of Congress to ally with democracy and repudiate dictatorship no matter where it is found?
And with that, Ruth Ann would like to ask a question about dictatorship, and my understanding is, should we bring the mic to you?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Excuse me, I would fall over from nervousness. You hear me? Yes. Okay, fine. My name is Ruth Ann, and I am one of the few people, I think, still living in the United States who remember the beginning and the progress of World War II. I'm 95 years old. And of course, what I remember was this ranting, raving individuals screaming at crowds of people who were saluting him. And this was the reason he did this, got there was, it was bad time in Germany, as it was in most of the world at that time. But they were in distress, and he picked that time, and it was about 33, and he didn't live past 1945, so this happened very rapidly. But he was able to coax a lot of depressed, frustrated, confused people in Germany to buy this story. He dealt with
anyone who was not a believer in very many ways, mass deportation, getting these people out of the way, many of the things that are happening today. So I wonder if these similarities have occurred to people in power. Don't they see what's happening? He got Evan Musk into a made-up office to do all this dirty work. He did all the railing and ranting and threatening, but he left it to Musk to do the work. So now we have the federal government just weakened in every way, so that we're not getting the leadership there. We're being laughed at, literally, by Musk, who clowned around during the campaign. And it's terrible. We have starting, we don't want to think about it, but there's a very subtle start of the Ku Klux Klan, and also the other bad things have happened, and they've started. This is how Germany started. You get rid of the people who don't believe you. You're willing to kill 6 million Jews. I wonder if Musk would be willing to do that. He's put millions of people out of work. He's weakening every state of our government right now. So, Representative Nunn, I would like to ask you a question. I don't think you can be unaware of the things that are going on here, but what are you and your Republican friends and leaders going to do to help quash this before our democracy is destroyed?
Our next speaker, we have to make some adjustments, but our next speaker is David. He wants to talk about DEI.
You I was called. Why me? Tough act to follow. Well, anyway, Mr. Nunn, I was in high school in the late 60s at the height of the civil rights movement, which I experienced firsthand. I used to believe in something that Martin Luther King said, and I'm going to quote him here. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. I'm not sure I believe that anymore with what's going on in this country. Civil rights applies to everybody, all Americans, all. I also worked for a large North American corporation for 37 years and hired or participated in hiring many people under a program at the time known as affirmative action, which I believe was the precursor of DEI. We never once were instructed to hire anybody but the best, most capable person. We did make a sincere effort to have a diverse pool of people, so we had good candidates and everybody got a chance. So, Zach, my questions at this time, 3 of them, but they're all related. Number 1, do you support the all-out attack and elimination of DEI? Number 2, do you believe DEI resulted in the hiring of many incompetent women and people of color? And number 3, do you support the erasure of the contribution of women and people of color from our history? Because all these things are going on right now. So those being the questions, if you answer these questions yes, I'd certainly like to understand your logic, and if your answer is no, I'd like to know what you're going to do about it. So did I say I'm Dave? I'm from Ankeny, Iowa. Thank
you. Our next speaker is going to be Jane, and I believe she's sharing the mic.
So I have an actual statement I'm going to leave with on the chair. But yesterday at another empty chair town hall, people were sharing limericks on St. Patrick's Day. So I thought I'd write a few and share them. There once was a man named Zach Nunn who ran for Congress for fun. When he ignored his constituents, they organized in resistance, and soon Mr. Nunn was all done. Zach, please preserve our Medicaid. Please tell the Doge Bros not to raid. We do not want oligarchy. We do not want your malarkey. Don't let our democracy fade. Two more. You're proud of your service, that's fine, but with veterans' jobs on the line, you won't appear and are quiet. Why are you waiting for a riot? We wish you would regrow that spine. There once was a man named Zach Nunn. His constituents he did shun. The people grew tired. They said, Zach, you're fired. And that's how democracy won.
Our next speakers are, I think it's Jerry and Shirley, and they would like to discuss dictatorships.
Both our politicians were as well trained as he is. My name is Jerry. I was born and raised in the south side of Des Moines. I proudly served in the military for 20 years as a combat pilot.
All right.
And I'm also a disabled veteran. And it bothers me to see how two individuals, and I will mention our Senator Ernst, who claims that she was a combat veteran in the National Guard, and Congressman Nunn, which on the sign I left out the G because I believe the con is an appropriate word. But my questions to the gentleman is, and I used to tell my students in school, I spent 17 years at graduate school, and I used to tell them there's absolutely no education in the second kick of a mule. Some of them got it. Some of them didn't. Neither one of our senators or congressmen in the entire state have obviously not learned that particular thing. But one is, I would like to address, and there's another gentleman who will also be doing it, the fact that one, in the military, we used to say you never get into a fight with less ammunition than the other guy. And I think that we should be well armored coming up, especially in 26. But the congressman who campaigned wearing his flight suit and his little badge and his little hat, we have a special name for in the military, saying that he was a combat aviator. That's semantics. You ever talk to a combat pilot? They say pilot. Okay? I'd like to ask him that question personally. But I would like to know why he is supporting and has not stood up to believe in his oath that he took both in Congress and as an officer in the United States military. To honor that oath, and why are you cutting veterans and job holders in the VA system. 22 veterans a day are committing suicide. Add that up. That is abysmal for a country such as ours. They are not supporting our veterans. They're having a hard time. The second question is Congressman, when are you going to honor your oath to not only yourself, which I think you should have some pride in, and to us, your constituents? If he's not willing to face us, he's not willing to be in office. Remember, folks, he asked to run. And he spent taxpayer dollars for those that put into his campaign to get that job. And if you can't stand in front of your constituents and take the grief that they're going to give you, then you cannot stand in office.
Jill Kay. You want to talk about the loss of congressional authority?
Hi, I'm Jill. I graduated from Valley High School in, is that better? 1972, and at that time, I took government in 10th grade. It was called American government. And I learned there that Congress has the power of the purse, and it has power to make laws. And I don't understand these tech brothers and whatever his name is, the rich guy, making our laws and deciding where the money goes. The most critical to me is the NIH funding and the funding to starving kids and women with HIV in sub-Saharan Africa. I just wonder why you've given up your job to somebody that's not elected.
Our next speaker is Jennifer P. She has some questions about education.
Hello, Representative Zach Nunn and many people here. I know you're familiar with me because I've sent you numbers of letters. I called you early or late before and after I teach. I've been teaching in Iowa for 25 years. I have 3 lovely teenagers, and I am very disturbed about many topics, and I've let you know my concerns, as well as these fine people who have much lived experience to speak on these topics. So I will talk about education. And my concern is not only for my own children, but for my students and my fellow teachers. How will you guarantee that schools will continue to receive federal funds for special education, ELL, and Title if the Department of Education closes?
You get my card out. Okay, so I'm Terry from Ankeny. They've got my tail on fire in different directions. I have a 38-year-old multiply disabled son. I'm an Army veteran. Non-wartime era, and about everything they're doing. And I'm retired from the state of Iowa, where I spent my last 4 years doing project management for the Veterans Home. So I know what condition the Veterans Home is in. But last Friday, it upset enough veterans that we all went to the Capitol, said hello. Then after saying hello, a few of us started getting together as a group, as much as you can without getting sued. Anyway, so my question is that given that DOGE is operating illegally by ignoring HIPAA regulations and without congressional oversight, what will a Congressman Nunn do to rein in the illegal behavior of DOGE and protect veterans' health care and data?
All right.
Our next speaker, Shirley. She would also like to speak about DOGE, I believe.
Hello, my name is Shirley from Des Moines. Congressman Nunn, I've been writing and calling frequently. I'm still waiting for answers to my questions, or at least specific answers to my questions. According to our Constitution, we have 3 equal branches of government. Congress has the authority over the federal agencies. Why are you allowing someone like Elon Musk and his groupies to ransack these agencies and slash them? Elon Musk does not have the proper security clearances. These people have not been properly vetted. And not to mention the major conflicts of interest. He has over $20 billion in government contracts. Could not be more wrong. Why are you not doing something to stop it?
Pam. Okay.
My name is Pam. I live here in Des Moines. I actually wrote a 6-page letter to our congressional people in Iowa. So I took a small piece from that letter. We had 104 signatures on it too, so we have it back. So this is about tariffs. Howard Lubnick, Commerce Secretary, said that the tariffs were necessary to crush the border. However, less than 1% of fentanyl comes through the Canadian border. Canada's recent Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, unleashed a historic speech, scorching Donald Trump's idiocy over his disastrous new tariffs, and said that the United States launched a trade war against Canada, their closest partner, ally, and closest friend. And at the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator. Trump says there might be a little disturbance to the economy. And we're curious to know, Representative Nunn, do you think these tariffs are a little disturbance to agriculture? Here in the Midwest, we should know that there are serious ramifications due to cutting funds to USAID and to the tariffs in China, Canada, and Mexico. But what's Trump's response? You can sell it in our own country, go out and have fun. To say nothing about the higher costs of goods for all of us as consumers, the very opposite of what Trump promised in his campaign to get himself elected. So where is your human compassion? What do you say to this? We have not heard your voice, and your silence is deafening.
Representative Nunn, your website states that you want to keep America safe, but then the website goes off to talk about immigration. Now, I don't know any Iowans who feel unsafe around immigrants, but I do know parents who are afraid every day when they drop their children off at school. They're afraid that their children will not come home in the afternoon. 80% of Americans support background checks for all gun purchases in the U.S. Will you support this common sense measure? Thank you.
Moving on, our next speaker, Jenny, has some questions about NIH and Social Security. Jenny.
Hi, I'm Jenny. I'm from West Des Moines, and my husband had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he was almost able to get a new treatment called CAR T-cell immunotherapy. He didn't make it to that treatment, but the results of it were really, really promising, and it's kind of become a bigger thing since then, and it's had very good results. And I recently saw that they had started using it for pancreatic cancer, and that it had like a 75% success rate for pancreatic cancer. And so the NIH was responsible for all of the basic research that created that treatment. And they're pretty amazing. And they are in chaos right now. Our institutions, our hospitals don't know where their money's coming from, don't know what they're doing, and this could seriously impact the life-saving therapies that they have been developing. So I want to know what you're going to do about that. And then, because my husband died, my son receives Social Security survivor's benefits. And there's supposed to be a 12% cut to the staffing of Social Security. I don't know if you've ever tried to talk to Social Security or call them on the phone, but they do not need cuts in staffing. And I would like to know what you were going to do about that. And since I have called your office several times and they took my name and took the spelling and everything, I thought maybe I would hear something about Social Security, but I have yet to hear anything about that from you, even though you said in your campaigning that you were going to protect it.
So, our next speaker, Matt Chen, he would like to talk about safety net.
All right, what an eloquent bunch of people. Oh, thank God I'm here, Mr. Dunn. I think that we get along, and I sent you a letter. I sent you a letter about a year ago, or a month ago, and I haven't heard anything, so we'll try again. Maybe somehow it will get through. So here's what, dear Representative Nunn, I'm very concerned about my sister and myself. She is a Vietnam widow who lives off $900 a month. She was addicted and now lives with me. She's had a cancerous kidney removed and throat cancer as well. So, and I'm disabled from 45 years of manual labor. So, my question for you is, when will Congress grab the purse strings and stand up for constituents? When can we quit worrying about our pensions, our Social Security, our Medicare, and our Medicaid? We are American, and we've played by all the rules. So I'm hoping you have an answer for me, Representative Dunn. Oh, come on.
Is Kay, which wishes to speak about education and for whom I would not be here without. Because she's my mom.
I come as a mother, but I come also as a student and as a teacher. I had the very good fortune when I was a young person to live within 1.25 miles of my elementary school. I have a twin sister, a younger sister, and older sisters, and we would walk back and forth in all kinds of weather. One of my teachers had been with the state education department, and he had taken 2 years off just to get back into the classroom. And I had that person for 2 years, and he was an excellent educator. He molded my life as a result of his teaching. When I went to high school, I was within 1 mile of the school, which made it easy to walk, and I was within 5 blocks of the college. In other words, I could get an education without any extreme measures. Originally, Iowa had a school in every township because they cared about education, and they made sure that students could walk to the classroom. In the 50s, they decided to close all of the one-room schoolhouses and consolidate. I am wondering what is possible with so much money going for grants for people to go to private school. The county that I grew up in doesn't have that much in the way of private schools. It is the poorest county in the state. It's considered the poorest county. And they can have larger classrooms, but I don't see how that will enhance education. And so I have a question for
Zach Nunn. And I call him I try to call him on a daily basis. And I call Washington, and if it's a tape, there was going to be a recording, I go to the state, and I just start going through until I find a person. And they've gotten to know me very well. I called this morning, and they said, "Oh, hello, Mrs. and I go through a little rigmarole. My address is blah, 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 and my phone number is blah, 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 and my email is blah, blah, blah." And I have them sending, responses back, but they are just blah, blah, blah. They are letters that are in some kind of a file. They don't really address the issue. And I have really appreciated those who have come to speak, because this is the way. We are the people, we are the government, and we are the ones who pay the bill.
My name is Laura, and I live in Des Moines, Iowa, and I too have called many times and written many letters to Representative Nunn's office and have not received as many responses as I do. My first question is about that act. Representative Nunn, over the weekend, federal judge James Boasberg ordered that the administration should not deport the Venezuelans using the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Trump still has not provided evidence of that act, and that it has been used constitutionally, and Trump ignored the judge's order. This is a break in the checks and balances that make up our democracy, and yet legislators have said these checks and balances still exist. My question is, have you spoken out against this breakdown? And if not, why not? My dad and I both live in Des Moines, but I manage his farm in rural Iowa. We signed a contract to start CRP on acres on that farm, part of that farm, this year, which changed our planting budgets and plans. What assurance do you have that the federal government will honor that contract in this and the coming year?
And our next speaker is going to be Libby B. She has questions about Rokana's anti-corruption bill.
I started working on a limerick, but it's really dirty, so I won't share. So I look out and I just keep hearing about all these radical leftists showing up to these town hall meetings. I know we all look like radical leftists. And I've been doing this for 25 years and I have yet to see my check from George Soros. And again, all of us have better things to do on a Thursday night or Tuesday night. We do not want to be here. We wish our representatives would represent us, listen to us, and represent our interests. So, the fact that we took time out of our calendars, out of our days, time with our family to be here tonight, and this gentleman did not have the decency or the respect for all of you to be here to answer your questions. That is extremely disappointing. And I wore this sweatshirt just for you. And if you can't see it, I'll describe it. It is Jesus saying, disappointment, it's all of you. So again, my name is Libby. You should know my name like many other people here. I call you daily. I email you daily. I send you faxes daily. I am a mom of 2 kids, an 18-year-old senior who is autistic and lesbian, and a 14-year-old freshman. I work for the State Department of Health and Human Services in the Public Health Division. And my spouse and I are both proud union members. So a lot of what is going on here at the state level and in Washington, D.C. is having a direct impact on our work, on our family, it just feels like a barrage of an attack coming at us. So all of this to say is that what I want to come around to is that the underpinning, the cause of all of this, I think, is the corrupting influence of money in politics. We are the best democracy money can buy, right? And we're seeing it in action right now. So the Congressman Rotana has introduced a bill called the Drain the Swamp Act, which would permanently prohibit the White House officials from accepting gifts from lobbyists. And Rotana would like to go further than that, but that is what is in the Drain the Swamp bill. And I want to know if you will support government by and for the people. I have called and asked this of his office and his staffers and told them if I did not get a response prior to tonight, we would assume that he supports corruption in government. So he did not take the time to get back to me, so I think we know what that means.
I'm really sorry the congressman couldn't make it tonight. I remember when Cindy Axney was our representative, she had 57 town halls in her first year. Maybe if you talk to Cindy, she could tell you how to do this one. But I want to talk to you a minute about Social Security because I need it. And I paid into Social Security for 48 years. I flipped pizzas, I tended bar, I worked for nonprofits, cancer organizations, kids with mental health issues, kids with disabilities. I did all these things while raising 4 kids of our own. And it was a hard toll. Not all of those nonprofits paid very well. I need that Social Security. It's my money. You're taking it. And I just want to know, if you're going to stay with your guy, President Elon and Trump, in moving to cut Social Security. Before we had Social Security, over 40% of seniors in this country lived in poverty. And that's what we're headed for if you start taking it away from us. And you've already shown your support for cutting Social Security by supporting Trump's budget. So I just want to know if you're going to have an about face and get yourself fixed on this issue and give us the money that we paid into the system. I'd like an answer, please. I'd just like to leave you with a new Irish blessing. There's so many Irish blessings out there, but there's a new Irish blessing. May your rights be protected and your resolve remain strong as you join the resistance and fight for all that is wrong.
Donna, she has some questions about the safety nets.
Hello. I'm Donna. I live in Des Moines, and I would like to tell you about my family. My husband and my daughter both each have Crohn's disease, which is a hereditary, lifelong digestive disease which requires ongoing treatment. We currently have Medicaid coverage, which has been excellent, has helped us get through this far. With treatment, they're each healthy and live normally. Without treatment, neither of them would live long. My daughter, Rose, is fresh out of college, ready to chart their own path. My husband, Kurt, is a local business owner, my sweetheart, and my best friend. Rose and Kurt were each diagnosed within the past 4 years. Since that time, their collective treatments have included hospital stays, surgery, consultations, diagnostics, ongoing treatments, and there's more to come. The pills, the medicine my husband is currently on, would cost $20 $20,000 per month if we were not covered, according to the pharmacy we go to. If Medicaid disappears, we're going to have a hard time finding other coverage. And there are many other stories like ours. My daughter's infusions that they get every 8 weeks are also $20,000 without coverage. This social safety net was built to improve our future. Your only job is to not tear it down and to listen to the people you serve.
Hello, lady did, I got a response from him via email. I know, via email. I think it's because I call him every day too, and 2 or 3 officers I call. I don't make it one. So, and if I have another thing that I really want to say, I call him again later in the day. So anyway, I got very upset because I got that scheduling card, okay? And it was, they handed it to me at one of the when we stopped at his office, okay? And because I said, why can't he be here? And this is supposed to be a recess time. And so they gave us this card with a number on it, the phone number on it. It's the same number you call when you call in to talk to him in Washington, D.C. So that didn't make any sense to me. So I got really upset. And when I called one day and I said, you know, I said, I have not seen a schedule yet on any of his town halls. And I said, they gave me this card. It's so stupid because on it, it's the same number that I'm calling right now. So are you guys setting up requests for scheduling? And the gal goes, no, don't know anything about it. And I said, well, it says to call here. And she said, don't know. And I got really upset, so I did get a letter back on that. But in addition, he also wrote, there was 2 in one day, believe it or not. So I must have really gotten whatever. Anyway, this is his response to education. As you may know, the Department of Education is a cabinet-level department that was established in 1980 with the goal of improving education in the United States. The department cannot be eliminated. Now, I wanted him here so I could say this to him since he wrote it to me and make sure that this is what he believes. The department cannot be eliminated without congressional action. While I believe there are many aspects of the Department of Education that could be improved, I do not support efforts to completely eliminate the department. Now, you have heard this from him, okay? Furthermore, the Department of Education oversees many critical initiatives, including Pell Grants, FAFSA, and Title IX protections. These programs are critical to Iowans, and I will look for every opportunity to ensure they continue to operate, even during times of uncertainty. Okay, you guys all heard this, okay? So, I thought, you know, this is kind of funny, you know, I don't quite believe it. Plus, he did not mention the IDEA and any civil rights protections for those students with disabilities. I want to let you know, this is what I answered him back. You know that you forgot that the U.S. Department of Ed also provides protections for students with disabilities for free appropriate education via IDEA. I've worked 30 years with children with disabilities in public schools in Iowa and know how much they and their parents depend on the extra funding that the U.S. Department of Ed provides and the civil rights support. And then in parentheses, with all these issues regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion, I do not see Republicans supporting civil rights of individuals with disabilities presently. I do not know why this has changed for the worse. I have a question. If this is what you believe, then why are you allowing the firing of half of the staff of the Department of Education, and why have you spoken out against H.R. 899 and the total dismantling of the Office of Civil Rights? Maybe you are unaware of what is contained in the IDEA. Anyway, I'm having trouble with DEI because I worked as a physical therapist. If I didn't support diversity, equity, and inclusion, I don't think they would have walked me working. So, yes, those are the questions I had for him.
Speaker comes from Ethan, talking about continuing resolution.
Hello, I'm Ethan, and I'm from Des Moines, and I am a proud union member of Local 347 in Iowa. That means that I am familiar with the value of pooling your money into a shared collective and getting an additional benefit more than what you put in terms of worth. Put that in sharp contrast with the continuing resolution that Zach Nunn voted for last week, which continues to push the Musk-Trump Project 2025 agenda of slashing critical agencies and programs, such as the Social Security Agency and the Department of Veterans Affairs. On February 10th, while grandstanding in front of Congress about a bill that he co-sponsored regarding housing for disabled veterans, Zach Nunn said that it was basically a tragedy that there were disabled Iowans that were literally sleeping and living on the streets. So then, I have to ask Zach Nunn why you would support a continuing resolution that explicitly slashes funding for the VA. This is exactly the type of thing that the VA is supposed to help with. Yes, it's great to put forward new bills to help with affordable housing. As a matter of fact, I think that should be a more general issue, not just for disabled veterans. But you cannot cut the department. You cannot cut funding for the department that is designed to help with the very issue that you are then trying to turn around and build yourself up for. That's all.
And everybody has spoken very articulately, and here I am.
I feel you.
I really am very concerned about the passage of the bill last Friday concerning what's going to be happening to all the different areas that need money and their money is being cut. And what I really was kind of concerned even more is they did I'm scrolling right now, an addendum, I guess, that day to a bill they were passing, the Republicans, and a procedural measure that prevented some things going on, but they also put in there that they ceded their power to the president on the National Emergency Act and to end Trump's tariffs. So they had an opportunity to do that, and they didn't do that. Now, the article said it was Johnson and all those people, but they probably also got everybody else's okay on it, all right? And then they turned around in that same bill they were doing, or addendum, how they put it, they put in there that the Democrats could go in within a 15-day period and demand a vote, okay? Well, they put in the bill that March 12th would go on until the end of the session. So there was not a 15-day period, okay? And if they're doing it with these bills, I question that. What do you have planned to secede your power to everything he's going to do? That's not your job, okay? That is not your job, and I find that really really a bad move for all of us. Okay? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chris Messercheck. I started my teaching career back when 94-142, which is now the IDEA law, went into effect at Ruby Van Meter School in Des Moines. I've been involved in education. I could talk about what they have done to gut the U.S. Department of Ed and what they will do to our children and our disabled folks, but I'd be here until about midnight doing that. My concern is I started reading Project 2025 back during the election, and what I see is what Steve Bannon calls shock and awe. When they are flooding us with so much destruction so quickly that we can't even comprehend and process what they are doing to our government, to our country, and to the people who need the most help. They want to create an oligarchy that is the government of the rich, for the rich, and by the rich. I signed up for Social Security because that's the latest onslaught. When you watch what they're doing, they try and gut departments like Social Security, where they're cutting out phone access to go Social Security. So you can't call in for questions or help. They're collapsing the number of Social Security offices all across the country, so that for many people who live in rural areas, they can't even drive to a Social Security office because it's 6 to 8 hours to make that trip. That's just one example, and we're just being flooded with it because we have a co-president who has never been elected, who has no government clearance, who's never passed a background check. But what we know is he is connected to Putin in Russia, to Xi in China, and he makes no bones about it. He is not interested in democracy. He is interested in lining his own pockets and making sure he can take government contracts for the FAA away from Verizon and put it in his own pocket. That's just one example. We could go on and on and on, but the question becomes, what can we do to stand up, to stop Elon Musk, to stop a liar and a criminal? And by that I mean the orange buffoon that is in the office. We've got to get organized now. We've got to be prepared for 2026. We've got to have, not a blue wave, it has to be a blue tsunami. And so I am asking all of you to join and not sit back and watch what is happening, but to stand up and fight. Thank you.
My name is Elisa C. And I live right here in Urbandale, Iowa. And I was hoping against hope that we would get Congressman Nunn to come here, because I wanted him to look me in the eye. And I wanted him to look into everyone else's eye, and especially Ruth, the 95-year-old lady. I thought we had a congressman, but I guess we have none. To you about Social Security, Zach Nunn. Do you know how many OA, SDI, Social Security beneficiaries are in Iowa District 3? Well, according to socialsecurity.gov, as of December 2023, that's the latest figures, it is 153,402 people. These are people, they're retired, they're disabled, or they're children or spouses. of people who have passed away. Social Security has a trust fund balance of nearly $3 trillion. And I think that's the key of why this program is so attractive. Elon said the quiet part out loud, that he wants to get rid of, we need to get rid of this, according to him. And also, Congressman Nunn, I'd like to know, do you know which demographic of voters are the most reliable to show up and cast a ballot? It's seniors, and especially PO seniors. I want the government to quit telling lies and trying to cripple Social Security. No more lies about dead people getting Social Security. That claim is false. Just like stolen elections, immigrants eating pets, and condoms for Hamas. And tariffs being about fentanyl. Thank you.
Xavier, I see you, so I'm expecting you're on your way. I'm sorry, Zach Nunn's not here to take questions.
Hey everybody. My name is Xavier Kerrigan, and just to briefly let you know about myself, I live in Waukee. I moved to Iowa about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. I've lived in, 6 different states, more than 30 different cities in 4 different countries. I am a former educator, working with ESL, ELL students, and I'm also a former candidate for United States House of Representatives in Ohio's 5th District. And I come from an area, I ran in an area where this is very familiar. I don't know if you've ever heard of Bob Latta, but Bob Latta was the gentleman, the individual I was running against in that district. And this is going to lead into the question that I have for Zach. And it has everything to do with the title that I ran for. I was running for the United States House of Representatives to represent the people, to represent the voices of those who do not have a voice because they don't have money or they don't have power. It is about representing the majority of this country. And when we have these polls and we have these questions that we ask the public, and we hear that only 7% of this country wants to get rid of Medicare and Medicaid, less than 30% have any issue at all with Social Security, much less getting rid of it. The most popular program in the history of this country. I will not call you Representative Nunn because you don't represent anybody. But my question is one of severity. And by the way, somebody said earlier about extreme leftists. I'm probably the closest you're going to get to that in this room. But I see myself in the center, but I also look at the Overton window in this country and it's shifted so far to the right that, being a leftist is simply being a centrist on the Wolf scale. But my question of severity is, unless your representative is going to vote to impeach, to convict, and to remove Zach Nunn, is that what you are going to do when the time comes as our country is collapsing?
Well, really, my question for you, Congressman Nunn, is more about the American dream. You know, a lot of us when we were young had a dream that we were going to get a job that paid us a living wage. We were going to get a job that allowed us to have good benefits. We wouldn't go broke when we went to the hospital. So that someday we were going to be able to retire. And that someday we would be able to pass on a living to our kids that maybe we weren't fortunate enough to have when we were little. So why, Zach and Nunn, are you supporting an individual like Elon Musk who is tearing the jobs away from thousands of people across this country? My other question on the American dream is why are they pulling away the dream for these people to buy a new home, to buy a new car, or even to get married? That dream is also being taken away from American people. And also the dream of small local businesses like Urban Grill just across the street from here. When all of those people lose their jobs, do you think they're going to be able to go out to eat, spend money at their favorite businesses here in town? No, Representative Nunn. I know somebody who's wealthy like you are doesn't understand that most of us normal people have budgets that we have to work on. And why don't you understand that, Representative Nunn? And why are you also trying to destroy American history? I heard today about how they're removing Ira Hayes from reference to raising the flag at Iwo Jima in World War II. That is a travesty that any veteran would not speak up and say that it is important that this man still be recognized as a tremendous figure in our military history. My only hope is that that does not extend on to Charity Adams, who was the first black woman to be a commissioned officer in the United States Army. And that happened right here in Des Moines, Iowa. And now they're considering taking her name off of a military base. Why would you not support a great veteran that came right there from the state of Iowa and was the first in the nation at being a black woman who became a commissioned officer? My final question to you is this, Zach Nunn. I've been married now for over 32 years. And I know that if I refuse to answer questions in my house, I'm not going to stay there very long. So if you refuse to answer questions, Zach Nunn, why do you think you deserve to stay in the House of Representatives? Thank you.
Hi, so my name is Jason, and I live over in and I just wanted to talk today. I don't know if you're all aware about this fact because it's kind of a hidden thing going on in the insurance industry right now, but for our car, auto, home, all that kind of insurance that we have right now, our insurers are pulling out of the state of Iowa at a rapid pace. We're being treated like Florida, okay, with all their insurers jumping because they're like, hurricanes are too expensive. But here they're like, derechos and tornadoes, we're out. So if you hadn't noticed, that's why a lot of your insurance premiums are probably jumping up right now, or you're getting forced to jump companies, and it's making Iowans have to pay more money than ever on your cost of living. And I just want to know why, when Iowans' cost of living and all the things that we have to deal with in our day-to-day lives are getting harder and more expensive, is Zach Nunn supporting all the different Trump policies that are deciding to kick the little guys while we're down?